You know, for the longest time now, it looked like Netflix had won the bidding war. But that, as we always cautioned everybody, it's not over. Paramount still has the opportunity to come in with new bids. They kept trying to get Warner Brothers to cancel the Netflix deal, wouldn't do it. They did everything except increase their bid. And then finally, they increased their bid. And as we talked about on the show the other day, that meant that Warner Brothers was going to take it into consideration. And as we discussed yesterday, if they determined that it was a better bid, that would give Netflix 4 days contractually to match the Paramount offer. Yesterday, we found out, just as the show was ending, Rob, you weren't here, but just as the show was ending, we found out that Warner Brothers and their board did indeed determine that the new Paramount bid was the better bid. Okay. That starts off a 4-day countdown clock for Netflix to respond and match the bid. They took 5 minutes and said, we're out. Netflix said, we're out. At this, we wanted Warner Brothers at what we thought was the right price. What you guys are now asking, we don't believe makes financial sense. And Netflix backed out. And that means, as is being reported in the Hollywood Reporter, Netflix backs out of the Warner Brothers bidding. Paramount now wins. As Ted Sarando says, it was always nice to have. Buying Warner Brothers was nice to have at the right price, but it's not a must-have at any price. We wanted it at the right price, but it's not like we ever felt like we have to have Warner Brothers at whatever the price. And they simply thought, Rob, that what Paramount offered Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers determined was the better offer, they looked at it and said, Warner Brothers isn't worth that much. And therefore, we're going to be responsible and we're going to say, we're out. Kind of like Shark Tank. They said they're out. Now, I think this is a very, very, you know me, Rob, I try to be realistic and yet still be optimistic and hope for the best. I am going to, in the depths of my soul, just hope for the best. I'm going to hope things are going to go well. But the realist in me right now is this is one of the darkest days I can ever recall in movie history. Like the pandemic shutting down movie theaters was bigger. That was bigger. But honestly, other than the pandemic shutting down movie theaters, I cannot think of a darker day as a storytelling fan. Because Rob, one of the things that we knew this back in October. Paramount announced back in October that their plans for HBO, the most celebrated name in all of televised entertainment, the most decorated, the most award-winning, the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the gold standard when it comes to producing the greatest television. Paramount's plan is to close HBO down and absorb it into Paramount Plus. That's been confirmed again. Interestingly enough, Ellison plans to merge HBO Max into the existing Paramount Plus streaming platform, so HBO Max will be no more, creating one service featuring the libraries of both companies to make Paramount Plus, this is from Paramount, to make Paramount Plus more compelling for subscribers. Rob, they're killing the greatest name in television entertainment history in HBO Max. Netflix was, of course, going to leave HBO Max alone to operate independently and keep doing their thing. And they're shutting down HBO Max. A couple of other things that we've learned in these reports. According to Bloomberg, Paramount intends to keep the executive officers and controlling and the controlling department presidents in place, which means Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdy, Casey Bloys, James Gunn, and Peter Safran. So I know a lot of people thought that if Paramount got Warner Brothers, that one of the first things they would do is because, David and Larry Ellison are little Trump bitch boys. And because Donald Trump doesn't like James Gunn and James Gunn doesn't like Donald Trump, that a lot of people assumed, understandably so, completely understandably so, that one of the first things they would probably do is get rid of James Gunn. Apparently, in a statement they have now put out, again, this coming from Bloomberg, they plan to keep DeLuca, Abdi, Blois, who is the head of HBO Max, so I guess they're going to just bring him over to Paramount, and James Gunn and Peter Safran. They plan on keeping them. But Rob, I was telling you this before the show started today. I have not spoken to James Gunn. Let's be clear. It's going to take about 8 months to a year for this deal to finalize. It's going to take about 8 months to a year. Sometime before the end of the year, I 100% guarantee. Again, I haven't spoken to James Gunn. I'm just telling you what I think. But I am 100% sure that before the end of the year, James Gunn is going to go to David Zaslav and say, it's been nice, but there's no way I'm working for those guys. So can you please let me out of my contract? And I think David Zaslav will let him out of his contract. And then I think he's going to end up back at Marvel, and he will become Kevin Feige's heir apparent to take over Marvel after Kevin Feige finally goes. That's what I think is going to happen. That's the roadmap that I see happening here. But there is no way I just can't imagine a scenario that James Gunn, because we all know how James Gunn feels about Donald Trump, whether you think he's right to feel that way or whether you think he's wrong to feel that way. We all know how James Gunn feels about Donald Trump, and Ellisons are Donald Trump's little fuck toys. So I just don't see any reality in which James Gunn stays. He's going to quit. He's I just can't see him staying. He's going to quit. And then just like when he left Disney, every single other studio is going to line up to offer him whatever job he wants. But I just don't see him staying, despite the fact that Paramount is saying they're going to keep him. We already know, Rob, that this is going to lead to, Paramount has already announced they're going to do $6 billion in cuts. $6 billion in cuts. Not $6 million in cuts, not $60 million in cuts, not $600 million in cuts. They're going to do 10 times $600 million in cuts. And so a lot of people, obviously at Warner Brothers, are going to lose their jobs. HBO Max is disappearing. It's going to be absorbed into Paramount. Whether DeLuca and Abdi stay, I don't know. Rob, I was talking to a friend of ours today, and they had a really interesting thought. They think DeLuca and Abdi, and maybe even Casey Blois, have maybe built a relationship with Ted Sarandos during all this process, and they may jump ship and they may end up over at Netflix. Now that Ted Sarandos has got a little bit of a taste of the theatrical movie business. And by the way, Warner Brothers now has to pay Netflix $3 billion. It could be anywhere between 3 and 5 billion. Just to be safe, to be conservative, I'll say 3.
It's 2.5 and it was already paid.
Sorry, it was 2.8. Sorry, that's right. It was 2.8.
And I thought it was Paramount that has to pay Netflix.
That's it. Paramount has to play. No, sorry, not Paramount. Warner Brothers has to pay the breakup fee.
Because, no, but I think it's being reported on Deadline that
Paramount will give Warner Brothers the money to pay them, but the contract is between Netflix and Warner Brothers. So Netflix now gets a 2-point-something billion breakup fee, and they're going to use that money to probably hire DeLuca and Abdi. And boy, again, we're not saying that will happen, but that is the one theory that my buddy floated, and I think that's probably not a bad theory.
Yeah.
And Rob, again, the thing that is really disheartening to me is
By the way, Paramount had to pay Warner Brothers termination fee. Paramount paid that. Warner Brothers didn't. Paramount had to pay.
Well, that's because Paramount made it a part of their offer that they would cover any. So again, it's Warner Brothers that has to pay it, but Paramount is going to cover it.
Yeah,
so,
and they've already done it.
Yeah, and so that's been done now. So they're going to use that money, probably take them out. And again, one of the really, really, really big things, aside obviously from the disappearance of HBO, is, Ellison, the deal to buy Paramount got finalized, got accepted in the summer of 2024. He took over the reign. They closed the deal and did the final after it cleared all the dotting the I's, crossing the T's. It was back in the summer of 2025 that even though they officially bought it in the middle of 2024, David Ellison didn't take over the CEO office until the middle of 2025. In 6-7 months, they haven't done anything other than a very shrewd business move, getting UFC onto Paramount Plus. I think it was an expensive move, but I think that was a good move. I do. But they have done nothing. We don't know anything. They have had 6-7 months to make announcements and whatever. They have the weakest slate of the year this year coming out. We haven't seen that they can even run Paramount.
Right.
Let alone run Paramount and Warner Brothers. And so, to me, this is an incredibly dark day. Anyway, Rob, I've set the stage. I went through all the details. What's your impression of all this? What's your response to all of it?
Well, I love Warner Brothers. My first ongoing industry job back in 1989 was I was hired by Bill Young, who was the senior vice president of physical production at Warner Brothers, to be one of the 3 management trainees. They created a new position where he brought in young, eager beavers like myself to teach us how movies are produced at the studio level. And it was incredible. We had the run of the lot. It was, I can't even begin to tell you how much I learned and how fun it was to work there and be a part of all the movies that Warner Brothers made at that time. And then, of course, I went back over the years and did other work. I produced The Hills Run Red for Warner Premiere back in 2008. And in, of course, 2005, I did Superman Returns. I was in Australia for a year on that film. So Warner Brothers, the studio, and one of my favorite people in the industry that is working today is George Feltenstein, who heads up Warner Archive, who is in charge of restoring all of their back catalog and putting them out on home video. And he's an amazing guy and one of the most knowledgeable people in the industry. And he's had to go through, when AT&T took over, they dismissed him. And of course, everything fell apart because George knows everything about where all the prints are, where the elements reside. So they had to bring him back. And it's like now he had to go through the Warner Discovery merger and things were cooking over there. And now they have to go through this again. And I think the thing that's really depressing about all this isn't about movies. This is about political positioning and who's going to allow. I mean, you have news organizations like CNN that are falling. Trump was already saying to whether you are a Trump fan or not, when Trump was saying to Netflix, you need to get rid of this person on your board. There's a lot more going on here than just the acquisition of a studio. And I think that's what Larry Ellison is leaving his encampment in Maui to move to Florida to be closer to Donald Trump. Now what you have is a consolidation of media power that should really give a lot of people pause, because this isn't just 2 entertainment companies. You're talking all different kinds of media. You're talking news, and it's basically under the control of 2 guys. And I don't think that's healthy for our country. I don't think it's healthy for democracy. I don't think it's healthy for the movie industry. And these guys aren't talking about what they're going to do. Netflix and Warner Brothers were going to be like 2 lungs of the same industry. And they both were going to be pumping to keep the heart going. And we're not going to have that anymore. And it's just yet another consolidation of money, media power, and who loses? The public. And it's really a bummer, man. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
And I don't see, are they gonna, is Paramount gonna slash the Warner Brothers restoration budget? Warner Brothers has these great deals all over with 4 different companies to release their catalog titles for the next couple of years. Is that gonna go away? I don't think it can, but if it did, that would be a tremendous loss.
Yeah. Again, listen, I want to be clear here. No matter how bad something looks, it can work out. And I'm again, look, I'm very pessimistic. I mean, that's clear. I'm very, very pessimistic about this whole thing. Again, because the Ellisons and Paramount over the past since mid 2024, when their offer got accepted to buy Paramount, to summer of 2025, when he actually took over the CE office and began directing the company, they have literally done nothing. They haven't shown I'm looking for things to feel optimistic about, but they haven't done anything to make me feel optimistic. They haven't shown they can run this company yet. And I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't run Paramount. I'm saying they haven't done anything to show us that they can run this company yet. And yet now, this guy who quite frankly looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, backed by daddy's money, is now in control of Paramount and Warner Brothers. And that does not mean it's impossible for it to work. I will remain hopeful that it can. I'm just saying I'm looking for somebody to sit down with me and really give me a reason to be hopeful. Because right now I'm just choosing to have hope. Nobody has given me any data. Nobody has given me any precedent. Nobody has given me any evidence about why I should feel hopeful. I'm just choosing to try to be hopeful, but I haven't seen anything. Do you got anything for me, Rob? Like, if you had to find a silver lining in this right now, how would you feel?
Look, the fact that they want to get rid of HBO is a brand that predates Paramount Plus by decades. If anything, they should fold Paramount Plus into HBO. I mean, I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, I do understand it's a branding issue, but the problem is, Warner Brothers as a studio, as a movie making and entertainment concern, is way more successful than Paramount is, and has been for a long time. Paramount has not exactly been a powerhouse studio over the last decade and a half. And it's really a bummer. I mean, I think it's really a bummer, and it's taken over by people that, I mean, Netflix is basically a distributor. Warner Brothers is the studio, even though Netflix does produce their own stuff, but Warner Brothers, and that's how they were going to be kept. Now, Paramount is a company that is not exactly, look at how much debt they have. They're not in great shape at all.
No,
and then
this thing is not gonna help their financial position at all.
No, and I think the whole thing is going to collapse. It's going to turn into the same thing that happened to Warner Brothers under AT&T.
Now, it needs to be pointed out here for everybody right now is to understand this, because this is important. Paramount does not own Warner Brothers now. Not yet. It's going to be, I said 8 to 12 months, maybe broaden that out, anywhere from 7 to 14 months. It's at some point they'll make an announcement about a timeline, but we're probably talking anywhere between 7 to like 14 months that it'll be to go through everything that needs to happen, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. Warner Brothers is still Warner Brothers, at least for the next 6 to 14 months until they actually take it over. Much like when the Ellisons and Paramount, the Ellisons made the offer to take over Paramount, it was almost a year. It was probably a little bit over a year, Rob, I think, before they actually owned it. Like the deal got made, and then it took a year to actually make it execute. We're still a ways off from Paramount owning them, so it's just important for everybody to know, as of today, and for this next week, and this next month, and this next several months, Paramount does not yet own Warner Brothers. They won't for a while, but it's coming unless something happens. Like, I don't know, Rob, maybe Apple steps in and goes, we'll offer you double what Paramount is paying you, and we'll just pay you out of what's in my back pocket, because Apple can buy and sell Paramount 4 times over. I mean, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
So all we can do now is hope for the best.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, Rob, if nothing else, this has made the upcoming CinemaCon very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're going to CinemaCon in just a couple of months, and it's going to be very, very interesting. And Paramount is scheduled to have a presentation, and Warner Brothers is scheduled to have a presentation. And of course, at that point, they will still be 2 separate companies, but obviously this is going to be addressed because movie theater owners are going to be very concerned about all this. And it's going to be very interesting to see at CinemaCon what Paramount and Warner Brothers have to say in person.
Yep.
And, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, We could probably sit here and talk about this all day. I will choose not to. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Paramount did finally up their bid. Warner Brothers said, okay, this is the better bid. Netflix, you got 4 days to match it. And Netflix says, peace out. That's not worth it to us. And we're out. And Netflix is now out. They've chosen to leave. That means if everything goes the way it looks like it will, in under a year time or right around a year from now, Paramount's going to own Warner Brothers. How do you feel about that? I'm not going to lie. Today, I'm feeling very negative about it. I really am. I hope things happen that can change my mind and make me feel better about it. If you guys got anything that can make me feel better about it, I would love to hear it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.